Welcome to Alaska EdVenture, hosted by Dr. Meinert, Superintendent of the Fairbanks North Star Borough School District. This award-winning podcast is your gateway to the heart of Alaska's educational landscape. In each episode, we'll explore the unique perspectives of guests who are shaping education in the last frontier. Join us on Alaska EdVenture as we share the insights and inspirations found in Alaska's K-12 classrooms.
Welcome back to the Alaska EdVenture podcast. I'm Dr. Luke Meinert, Superintendent of the Fairbanks North Star Borough School District. And today we are talking about a very exciting topic, and it's nutrition services within our school district. And then Representative Dibert is here with us today to talk about some exciting legislation that's coming our way. And so I would love for my guests today to introduce themselves, and then we'll get into the topic at hand.
Wonderful. I would just like to take this brief moment to thank you and your team for having this opportunity. I'm Representative Maxine Dibert. I represent House District 31 in the legislature, which is basically downtown Fairbanks. It's the district that I grew up in, born and raised. And then after graduating from high school, I went to UAF, got an elementary teaching degree, and then got a job right in the heart of my district at Denali Elementary School.
Go Denali. We were just there last week together.
Yeah, 22 and a half years. I mostly taught third grade and absolutely loved it there and loved to teach. I loved living with 8 and 9-year-olds. Best time ever.
I love that too. Anytime I'm stressed, I feel like I need to get out of the office, it's usually the 6, 7, 8, or 9-year-olds I go and spend time with. They
exactly.
Can cheer you up.
Yeah, they're fun to be with and great curriculum. So we're always learning lots of fun things. And then ran for office, and now it's an honor to represent House District 31 and be a voice for Fairbanksans.
Excellent. Well, thanks for your service, not only in the schools, but what you're doing at the state level. Representative Dibert is a great supporter of public schools here within the state. And so love that you continue your advocacy at that level, and can't wait to welcome you back at some point in time to be back with our students here in the district.
Thank you. And
Ms. Rouse, I'll pass it over to you.
Thank you. My name is Amy Rouse. I'm the Director of Nutrition Services with the school district. I have actually been in child nutrition for over 30 years. I started in child nutrition when I graduated college, way back in 1991. Wow, that makes me feel kind of old.
Just experienced.
Yes, experienced with gray hair.
I'm getting it too.
So that's kind of my background. I am in my 19th year as a director here in Fairbanks. So the longest I have ever been anywhere, not just in a job, but also in a community. Moved around a lot when I was younger.
And I do have to say that Amy and I were colleagues at one point.
Okay.
She would come to Denali Elementary School. So she saw me in action with 26-ish third graders, getting them down to the hot lunch line and the breakfast.
Yep,
and
she was fabulous.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the amazing things about Amy and all our nutrition services staff, even those that work at like the district office level. Oftentimes they are in our schools day to day. It's a challenge, just like all of our other positions, filling all of our spots. And so Amy can often be seen on the front lines at all of our schools selling meals or preparing meals. And so thank you for everything that you do on a daily basis to keep things going.
You're very welcome.
Amy, maybe we will start with you. This is a little bit of a curveball on our pre-show. We're like, maybe we'll start with HB 12, but I think we'll start with the scope of your work and what it looks like to provide nutrition services across the district.
Oh, that is a really good question. Actually, really hard to answer as well. Our department, we currently have 60 employees, and we have 27 locations where we serve meals every single day.
Breakfast and lunch.
Breakfast and lunch.
Yep.
And also some after school snacks at some of our schools as well. So it it takes all 60 of those. We have our central kitchen facility who produces and packages meals for lunch service to 18 of those. Our warehouse delivers those every single day. 30 to 35 scheduled delivery stops every day for them. And then, of course, our school-based staff, they're having to ensure every single day that breakfast and lunch is ready to go when that deadline hits, and that they have smiles on and they're ready for those kids, because without those meals, the kids really can't focus and learn.
Yeah, why don't you speak to that a little bit? I mean, either of you, I think. Well, why don't we talk about HB 12 just a little bit, and then we'll get to why nutrition services is so important for our students. And so, Representative Dibert, you've introduced House Bill 12 in the Alaska legislature, and can you speak to that bill a little bit and what it's trying to accomplish?
Absolutely. House Bill 12 is a piece of legislation that directs the Department of Education, or DEED, to provide universal breakfast and lunch, or both, either or both, for any student that asks, without any cost to the student or the families. And it also asks the Department of Education to maximize our federal dollars as well, so that we can capture those funds to help us offset that cost. Denali Elementary School is a Title I school, and those federal dollars mean a lot to funding our school and helping our school out in many ways. So I understand how important that is to our districts. So that is what House Bill 12 does, and it's a great piece of legislation. It's a high need. Right now, it is in House Education. So we've had 2 hearings, great testimony from families and mothers, grandparents from across the state. If you go back and listen to the hearings on it, it's on alaskaledge.gov. And you could just search up any bill, and you could do House Bill 12, and you can hear those past introductions and discussions about the bill.
That's great. And it does fall on the heels of other states having pretty broad bipartisan efforts to provide this to other states in terms of students getting free meals in other states. And so it's exciting that you're bringing it to Alaska in a state that has some challenging environments, not only to feed students on a daily basis, but the logistics of delivering nutrition services and getting food out to our students, especially in some of the remote areas of our state.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you brought up. In my role as a legislator and talking to other legislators across the nation, and just hearing how they've introduced this work as well on universal meals, and how it has improved academics, how it has improved attendance, mental health. You know, when you think of the triangle of needs,
absolutely,
the baseline is always food. And I'm sure Amy can say a lot about that. Nourished youth equals nourished, healthy brains, so that you can focus.
Yeah, absolutely.
On the learning.
Yeah, meeting those basic needs is critical to being able to take that next step forward and being able to be really successful in school.
Yeah.
And so, Amy, you see it on a daily basis in terms of working with families that might not have the resources to pay for meals. And so I would love for you to talk a little bit about the National School Lunch Program and those federal dollars that Representative Dibert talked about. And then I guess just the outpouring of support that we've seen recently to help cover some of the gaps in funding that we've had.
Yeah. So the National School Lunch Program is administered by the United States Department of Agriculture. Congress actually authorizes National School Lunch to exist. And so the day-to-day oversight, though, is with USDA. About, I guess it's 5 years ago now, when we were first coming out of COVID, USDA had granted all school districts in the nation a waiver to provide meals at no cost to every student enrolled in the districts. And we saw a huge increase in participation because of that. And we all know that if kids aren't full, they can't learn, they can't focus, they have potentially have a lack of impulse control, all those things that negatively can impact their educational process. And when USDA did that waiver, they also provided additional reimbursement money. So the federal funding that is provided is based upon the meals that are served, not what is produced. And so the increasing the federal reimbursement dollars, that ties back into another aspect of legislation that's called the community eligibility provision. And so based on a bunch of criteria that I won't get into because you really get into the weeds with government wording, it can potentially increase the dollars that a district receives, and they could provide meals at no cost to every child enrolled in their district. Unfortunately, when we look at those numbers every year for Fairbanks, it's not something that is financially feasible for us. Now, with House Bill 12 and some other things that are happening at the federal level, that can always change, which is why we review it annually. But our goal is to ensure that our students eat. One way or another, they eat. And in an effort to support that and the families, we allow them to accrue meal debt. And through the graciousness of our community and individuals, we have received donations that have allowed us to eliminate the meal debt that our students and our families have accrued for the past year and a half. For first semester, we paid off almost $58,000 in negative meal debt, 100% through donated dollars that we received at our department. And so that has been phenomenal. Unfortunately, that's something that has to continue. And if we get state funding, we get more federal funding, that would reduce that need for those donated dollars.
Yeah, well, a huge thank you to our community for stepping up and providing that for our students. What a generous amount of donations that is for our first semester. That's a huge amount. If families are listening to this podcast and they don't know how to go about filling out the free and reduced lunch form that they could take advantage of free and reduced lunch at or meals at their schools, how do they go about that?
The meals application is available through the entire school year. If there's been a situational change in their household, they've added household members, someone's gotten laid off, whatever, they can apply for free or reduced meals at any time during the school year. On our department website, Nutrition Services, there's the link to School Cafe, which allows them to complete it online. There's also paper applications available at the schools, our department office. There's a multitude of ways. Free, obviously, is self-explanatory. There's no charge for breakfast or lunch. But reduced eligibility is a little interesting in the fact that there is no charge for breakfast, and lunch is 40 cents a day per student. And either one of those eligibilities really helps reduce that financial stress on the family.
Yeah, and on that note, when the cost of living in Fairbanks and in the state right now is skyrocketing, having House Bill 12 help out our districts and our schools with the cost of lunch and breakfast can be very helpful. One less stressor off of families. And I know as a teacher, in my previous role, it's also a stress off teachers as well, because I know that I would always use my personal funds to get extra snacks and make sure I had extra I always liked pilot bread and peanut butter. Just always ready to give my students, because you can see at different points in the day when they weren't fed, heads down, just, hungry,
Yeah.
and then you can't learn. So this House Bill 12 can provide a relief to our families, and to teachers and principals as well, who have to manage that debt. And everyone should get fed. And that is what this bill aims to do.
It'll provide huge relief to school districts as well. We've been in a position in the past where we've had to subsidize nutrition services from our general fund, and talking with superintendents from around the state, they're making hard decisions on how they even provide nutrition services for their students, given the relatively flat funding for education, and the huge increase in not only the airfare to get meals out to students, but just the increase in costs of food as it is. We all know food is skyrocketing around the country. Our grocery bills are much more than they were a couple of years ago. And so we're feeling that as a school district as well, in terms of having to pay for the food to provide the services for our students.
And across the nation, I think there has been a shift in how communities, governments, are looking at school meals now. I think a lot of people are starting to understand how critical they are to a student's education, and that they should be provided at no cost. Laptops are provided, books are provided. And so that has become more prevalent, I think, over the past couple of years than it ever used to be.
That's a very important point. We ask these kids to be with us for 6 hours a day. Usually we're with the students longer than they are at home. And, when you think about the work week, so we should provide food for them to be there.
Yeah.
And we're asking them to, read and write and do science and use their brains. So it's important that we nourish them as well. And I can't agree more with that.
So if community members are interested in tracking this bill and helping support it, what are some next steps at the legislative level that the bill will go through?
Yeah. If families can get familiar with akledge.gov, and you just right at the top of that, akledge.gov, there's a search bar, and you could search HB 12.
Okay.
And that's this bill, this legislation. I can use Families Help. When we get it out of education, it will go to finance. And it's kind of like starting all over. So I have, I've had time to go out and talk to school districts, talk to people out in the community to develop this bill. So now I'm starting over in finance. And so we get to share this story again with legislators, my colleagues. And that is when I can use Alaskans Help to call in, tell their story of what House Bill 12 means to you, how important breakfast and lunch is, what you see. That's all very helpful to me in getting this bill. And then once it gets through finance, we craft it. I work with my colleagues and make House Bill 12 feasible, doable, and hopefully it is a priority for our state, feeding our youth. And I guess hearing your testimony is the biggest thing that you could do to help this bill cross the finish line.
That's great.
Yeah.
And Ms. Rouse, anything else that you would like to talk about in nutrition services or in relations to HB 12?
No, not really. We, of course, wholeheartedly support HB 12. 5 years ago, when our staff didn't have to worry about who paid and who hadn't paid and notify families and on, it took a huge burden off of them. And they could do what they truly loved, which was see the kids, interact with kids, and feed them. chasing people, looking for dollars. It's not something that any of us in nutrition services have a passion for.
Mm-hmm.
Our passion is our students and ensuring that they have those nutritious meals so that they can do what they need to do, not just in that day, but their lives. We're teaching them good eating habits. We're teaching them food groups and the balancing and why everything is important.
Yeah, and even exposure to other foods. One of the things that I've encountered as I've visited schools, the nutrition services department sometimes does like feedback from students, and they'll try different meals. And there's been times where, you know, I've discussed how students like the meals or whatever's prepared that day, and they're like, I had never actually had this food before, but I really like it. And so just that exposure to different foods that they might not have been exposed to, I think is a really cool benefit of our nutrition services department.
Yeah. Our menus are designed for our students. They're not designed for adults. They're not designed for me. And so while USDA has very strict meal regulations that we have to follow, one of our priorities is talking to the students, getting new ideas, having them taste foods that we're looking at purchasing, and just their own tastes and preferences. What are they into now? What are they enjoying eating? And we learn a lot from having those conversations and those feedbacks with them.
I have a funny story from this past week. I got to visit some different schools and went out to nearby districts. So I was out at Nenana and got to have hot lunch with the kids, which was so fun. It filled my soul to be back and having a meal with children. You can't ask for a better time. Definitely one of the times I miss. But one of the servings was fresh onion, like sliced onion for the sandwiches. And I was sitting across from a little girl, and she's like, I've never had onion before. She's like, I'm going to try it. And she tried it. And she's like, I'm not ready for onion. And I was like, yeah, I think
it's an acquired
I probably
taste.
liked onion when I was a teenager, maybe. Keep trying it. Don't give up on it.
Right.
But you're right. You know, just kids get to try different fruits and vegetables and learn about those different important food groups and how it's helpful to their brains.
Yeah.
And I thought that was pretty funny, though.
That's a really cute story.
I mean, I was like, fresh vegetables. I'm like, yes.
Well, that's what we, you run a fresh fruits program throughout the district as well. And I know sometimes I feel like there's some fairly exotic fruit on there that maybe even some of our staff members haven't had the opportunity to try.
Yeah, the Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Program is another federally funded program. It requires us to provide fresh fruits or vegetables outside of the meal service. So it has to be done in between breakfast or lunch or even after lunch, but before the end of the school day. And so we utilize those dollars to expose our students to things that they may never have seen. Rambutans. They always kind of remind me of a sea urchin with the little spikes. And so rambutans and dragon fruit and different tomatoes. And this week is actually papaya.
Oh, wow.
We've had mango and all sorts of things. And what's really interesting is when we first started the Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Program, it's probably been 10 plus years now. A lot of the things that we were exposing our students to were not in the grocery stores. And so it was really kind of fun when you would go shopping. It's like, oh, hey, we did that last week for fresh fruit and vegetable. And you could hear kids in the produce, Mom, we had this at school. And it was really a lot of fun doing that program. But my funny story was when we did the pomelos. So we thought, oh, we'll do pomelos one week. And on the website, the pomelo's about that big. In reality, pomelos are about that big.
Wow.
We ordered one for every student.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, we had We had them coming out our ears
for months.
Yes, yes. They were as big as some of the children's heads.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. We're like, yeah, I guess we won't do that again.
It's kind of like cucumbers in the summer. Once they start going, it's like everybody gets a cucumber.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, we loved those days. It was Wednesdays at Denali, and it was, we did ours for snack, like right before lunch. And it was the best, like the raspberries, the blackberries, and the mangoes. Yeah, it's, and then having the kids try things they'd never would ever try on their own. Like, you don't go to spiky things in the produce section and go, I want that.
Right.
Yeah.
And even if they do, their parents are like, no, we're not spending money on that.
Yeah.
It's really expensive and I have no idea what it tastes like. So,
but maybe somewhere down the line they'll
Yeah.
buy that in the future. And
Yeah. Purple cauliflower.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of them don't know that cauliflower comes in colors other than white. And so it's been a lot of fun.
That's great.
Wow.
Well, thank you to you both for everything that you're doing in your professional lives and then your willingness to come on the podcast and share. I know it could be a nerve-wracking experience, but I think both of your stories are so important to share about the great things that you're doing, and then wanted to highlight HB12 and make sure that people knew it was out there and how they can support you. And so going forward, what's the best way to connect with you?
Yeah. I guess the easiest way would be to email me. Always available at rep.maxine.dibert@akledge.gov, and we'll always respond back.
Perfect. And then if you like the content of the bill and the intent behind it, I would just say continue to talk to whoever your legislator is and tell those personal stories. I think those go a long way with legislators, and then be following it closely to provide public testimony in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, we did it. Thank you so much for being on today. And this is another episode of the Alaska EdVenture podcast, and we'll catch you next time. Thank you.
Go Team Rambutan.